Republicans think, conservatives particularly, Christian conservatives now apparently, think that it's immoral to help people. Let me explain. Well, not immoral to help people. It's immoral for the government to help people. And this comes in the justification to cut social services, to cut SNAP benefits for children, to cut any sort of Medicare, start putting it's not means testing, but it's a testing to see if you're actually able to work or not, putting harder restrictions to get help from any sort of government agencies that are into social services, that help you with social services. And in fact, push all of that burden onto the states. So you take it out of the federal government's hands when they're giving, billions of dollars to states for Medicare, Medicaid, for Social Security benefits, which are federally handled. So they don't actually give the states the Social Security, but the money from the Social Security, but they're making it more difficult. They're making it difficult for you to make changes over the phone now. So they want you, back in the day, I dealt with my mom, who's now, she's dead. But when she was old enough, she got Medicare and she got her Social Security, and I did it all over the phone. She sat next to me. She was suffering through early onset dementia. So she couldn't really advocate for herself, but she still could enough that we didn't have to get her power of attorney or anything like that. And we did it all over the phone. And it literally took 15 to 20 minutes. Everything was done. My dad had to send in, because my dad wasn't retired yet, or he was still under, I don't remember what it was, but he had to send in how much money he made and things like that. It took no time. It was quite easy. We sent the forms in. I think it was 2 weeks later, she got all of her information in the mail. She was covered, completely 100% medical, disabled, and she got her Social Security. And she'd paid into it her entire life. I mean, she'd been working since the time she was 15 years old. She grew up on a farm, and as soon as she left the farm, she, went to work 18, 19, 20 years old. And so she earned it, like millions and millions of Americans. And it was an easier process. And it got easier and easier, and that was the goal of the Democratic Party and liberals, essentially, was to make it easier, because you can say a lot about liberals, and believe me, I have 100 million things that I have a problem with liberals about. But one of the things that liberals understand, even neoliberal policies, even those types of things that I loathe, they understand that there has to be a social safety net. They understand that there has to be something out there for the disabled and the elderly to have help, so they don't starve, so they're not homeless. And this goes back to the New Deal. During the Great Depression, literally people could not afford to feed their family members. There were no social safety nets. So elderly people were just abandoned. Some were just abandoned in wheelchairs. Some were just abandoned on the side of the road. Some were just taken to churches and left and dropped off. They did this with children. And so to prevent all of that, the New Deal is created. The Great Depression was so bad for America that it affected the wealthy and the upper middle classes. And it was so bad that these social safety nets were actually welcomed in by a lot of people who previously would not have wanted those. But they understood that the reaction was so bad that capitalism itself was threatened. In fact, that's what FDR did. He saved capitalism. Because communism and socialism would have moved into the country aggressively at that point. People would have welcomed the government, and which is exactly what the TVA and all the jobs programs and all the things. The government spent a ton of money to get people back to work. And then, of course, you get World War II. And then post-World War II America, and we were the only country, one of the only manufacturing countries left in the West. And we had no threats to either of our borders other than Hawaii being attacked. The contiguous the lower 48, as I call them because I'm from Alaska, were never touched. There was never war, only in Hawaii from the Japanese. But Democrats have always understood this. Now, do I wish the Democratic Party would get off their asses and be a little more aggressive? Yes, and so does the general public. The general public wants more aggressive policies by the Democratic Party towards social safety nets, towards sort of socialism. MAGA, of course, the word socialism is communism to them. They don't understand what it is. They don't really care about any of that because they've been they've been tricked. Trump plays to the worst part of the human personality. It plays to their greed. It plays to their anger. It plays to their hate. It plays to their bigotry. It plays to their desire for a strong leader type who will make bold decisions and somehow make America quote unquote great again. And they're very symbol-minded. They're very slogan-oriented. And Democrats have not created, since Hope and Change of Barack Obama, the Democratic Party really hasn't been able to articulate a position, a slogan that would catch fire. Also, Democrats are usually not authoritarian followers. So the liberals and Democrats, they don't particularly they don't particularly want a strong father figure to save them. That's not what they're looking for. They're more egalitarian. They accept LGBTQ, minorities, DEI, woke, social justice, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So that's one of the major differences. But the Democratic Party has been weak, and they've been weakened by the people inside their own party. I don't think having billionaires brag about being billionaires like J.D. Pritzker is good for the Democratic Party. I think we have to go after those people. I think those people should be the ones. The Pritzker family should be, they have a special deal with the United States government about their family's money. We shouldn't be the party of billionaire nepotism. We should be, I'm not a Democrat, but I used to be, but the Democratic Party needs to be more left populist oriented. It just does. And it would take off like wildfire in America. But it can't come from New York City and AOC. It just cannot. Because Fox News has turned AOC into Karl Marx. Like, she's at the best you could call her is a progressive. But she's Fox News. She's the demon Marxist who is going to usher in communism into America. Stephen Miller did a speech. Stephen Miller, of course, is the president's main advisor. And he gave a press conference about how DEI is a communist plot, essentially. I'm paraphrasing, but a communist plot. And we're not going to be turned into a communist country by communist DEI propaganda. First of all, the only communist country that I am familiar with that he would be speaking about is China. China is not a woke country. I'm sorry to be the burden to bear of this. They do not have the social they don't look at homosexuality and transgender the same way American society is open to it. It is a different it is more of a conform society. It is not, and so they're not out there promoting DEI and wokeness. They don't even, Hollywood has pulled lesbian kisses from movies and homosexual characters from movies to appeal to the Chinese. So who is Stephen Miller talking about? He's not talking to anybody. He's not talking about any country. What he's doing is he's giving red meat to MAGA supporters who are bigots. Here's why it's not because of my Christian bullshit that I don't like homosexuals, or that I've been convinced that homosexuality is the worst goddamn thing a man could possibly be, and transgender is unnatural, and there are people dressed as cats with cat boxes inside of classrooms, which is all bullshit. But that's what the Republicans are doing. That's what conservatives are. That's what Stephen Miller is. He's talking to MAGA. He's scaring them with the word communism. In 2025, there is no communism. It's the same thing when they tell you that the university systems are pumping out Marxists and communists. No, they're pumping out capitalists who are in debt and have to make a ton of money so they can fucking pay their bills and their debt off and their student loans. There is no communist conspiracy. This is McCarthyism. This is paranoid bullshit. This is what Glenn Beck did with his whiteboard, his chalkboard in the mid 2000s. This is the same bullshit. This is a lie that the right wing has continually pushed on the American people, particularly to MAGA, to terrify them so they stay angry and bigoted and ask for no social and have no problem with the reduction of social safety nets and the social fabric. you're allowed to make as much money as you want in America, but you are going to pay taxes, and those taxes are going to go to help people who need it. People that, not every, like J.D. Vance wants every woman they want to go back to the traditional family. That's fascism. That's the man leads everything. The white male man is in charge of everything. The women are subservient. The children are subservient. There is no democracy. And it is a Christian version of reality, a westernized Christian version of reality. And all of this is showing you that conservatives don't care about people who need help the most. They do not care. Charlie Munger, that asshole, that grotesque, he looks like the guy, he looks like Gary Oldman's character in the Silence of the Lambs sequels. He died. He was Warren Buffett's main asshole, and he was just a complete asshole. And he said, I gave up my insurance long ago. I stopped buying and paying for insurance, health insurance, and I funded my own medical coverage. And people should do that. If you have the means to do, who the fuck has the means to go spend if you needed something at the hospital that's why you have insurance. That's why, because you have to get in a group policy so things cost less. But billionaires will tell you, you should just go finance it yourself. We don't need this. Why do you need it? Have you ever been to a clinic that services the working classes? Have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen how busy they are all the time? People are struggling financially. Cars aren't selling. Toy collectors are struggling right now. People at the major indicators, people don't have excess income to go buy shit. And all Republicans want to do is cut taxes for the wealthy, cut your social safety nets, and make you suffer. And then they use Christianity and morality to justify it. It's not moral that we take somebody else's money and help another person with that money. That's not okay. It's fine to give corporate tax breaks. It's fine to fund a military that kills people and breaks shit. It's fine to fund a Gazan genocide of Palestinians because they're Muslims, whatever. It's fine to keep this proxy war in Ukraine going. It's fine to support the Syrian overthrow of Syria, the bombing of Yemen. We can just keep going and going. Oh, but hey, he signed $1 trillion deal to sell weapons to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, Saudi Arabia is controlled by the United States intelligence community, period. Their intelligence officers have to be approved by the United States. You know how much oil that we buy from Saudi Arabia? And do you know how badly Saudi Arabia does not want to be Iran? They don't want to have sanctions. They don't want to have to make, so the Saudi royal family has always been a friend of the United States government. Remember Bandar Bush? They used to, do you remember all of this? The 32 redacted pages of the 9/11 report were all about Saudi Arabia. This is MAGA being tricked again. Look, he made a deal, $1 trillion deal to sell more weapons to Saudi Arabia, as if that wasn't going to happen already. And of course this is their morality I believe that MAGA and I believe that Donald Trump and his entire cabinet, their brains are wired wrong. Their brains are wired into that war is peace, their 1984 war is peace. We don't have to, people can, they can figure it out on their own. They don't need the government to get in their way. And that's an excuse so you can cut taxes and not have to help people with social safety nets. These people's brains are wired wrong. They're sick human beings. They're Christians. This is why I advocate that Christianity be obliterated. Christianity needs to go the fuck away. Every religion does. We need to stop believing in fictions and start believing in each other. So when you hear all this cutting of social safety nets and all of these people and these from Mike John, they have convinced themselves that it's immoral to take tax money and use it to help people who need help. That's who these people are. Never mind their attack on immigrants. Never mind all of their other horrible shit. Thank you for listening. And remember, Republicans, Christian Republican evangelical types are cruel and they're easily tricked.